What's up, Internet? I'm Aries Van Dam. How was your weekend? Mine was pretty calm. So, I was just dying to get back to y'all, though, because Friday, Piers Morgan made an ass out of himself again because he was wondering what could he have done in his Nick Fuentes interview differently. So he brought on a bunch of other interviewers who were much better than him just to tell him how shitty he was at his job. That's going to be a lot of fun. But there's a couple of other things that I wanted to get around to first. So, 98% of y'all are still not subscribed. So, see this little fella over here? Say hi, Ozzy. If I don't get 10 subscriptions by tomorrow, I may have to put him down. Just kidding. But do subscribe because you're starting to piss me off. And wait, never mind. Oh, here they are. I'm looking at doing some, let me turn this music off. I know it's distracting y'all. So I'm auditioning new intros and outros. Tell me what you think of these. Oh wait, gotta remove this one. It's kind of quiet, huh? I just kind of like it though. I don't know why. It's just so quiet. I might have to put some music to it though. Something about it. I don't know. I just kind of like it. Marijuana presents. All right. And then this is the intro. It's also kind of quiet. I don't know. Just wanted some input though. Let me know what y'all think. And let's get into the video. I had to fast forward because in the very beginning, Tim Pool was crying and whining about Candace Owens more. I don't think he understood he was supposed to be criticizing Pierce, and he just wanted to talk shit on Candace. So I fast forwarded past that. We're going to get into it, and it's not going to actually begin with the Crowder destruction of him. We're going to have to go through some of the Milo stuff first because Milo had some issues with Nick Fuentes. So let's get into it and see what Milo thinks. This is where he starts defending him, though, and Pierce gets all mad.
He has a reductionist and grievance-fueled view of the world that explains almost everything that's wrong with America, geopolitics, the economic state of his generation, and the fact that he can't get a good burger. It all seems to be the Jew fault. And there are some things that, now and again that do strike one as unusual, whether it's Jewish overrepresentation in certain industries. There are certainly criticisms to be had of Israel. But Nick reducing the whole world down to, a vast Jewish conspiracy, and it would all just be fine if we could smash Jewish power. I don't have anything remotely like that kind of point of view.
Well, how could you? Your mother's Jewish.
I think it's strange that you're...
Which would make him Jewish.
Yeah. I think it's strange. I'm confused as to why you seem so anxious to suggest that we're identical. It's quite.
No, I didn't say that. I'm just as you were defending him over the misogyny, defending him over the anti-Semitism, defending him over the racism. I just began to conclude that although you're saying it in a different way, and obviously I was being ironic, I myself speak in a English accent. But it seemed to me that you were going out of your...
Pierce can't get that Milo's a gay dude and he's just being petty. He doesn't like Nick because they got a personal beef. But everything Nick's saying is pretty much on point with Milo's perspective. That's what Pierce isn't getting. He doesn't understand. Yes, you're just supposed to dislike him because I do. And it doesn't work that way.
You're getting out of your way to defend things, which I thought were pretty deplorable in that interview.
Well, I'm trying to understand where these guys are coming from, because there's a lot of them. There's a whole generation of them. And if we simply write them off as racist, sexist, misogynist pigs, we'll lose them. And we'll lose them to people like Nick Fuentes. I take the view that it would be better to understand what of their package of opinions has validity and what does not. Understand where some of their anxieties and concerns are coming from. Figure out what we can fix and try to rescue a generation that seems to me to be sliding into nihilism and hatred of everybody. Isn't that a good thing?
Well, I mean, look, if we expand it, if you look at someone like Ye, you represent him, I think, right? You work with him still?
Yes, I manage the lawyers, and I run this family office. Yeah.
You know, and again, I would simply say this is a guy who, on the record, I would have asked him this if he hadn't walked out of our last interview to get him to explain why he said these things. But you know, only 3 years ago, literally 3 years ago this month, he praised Hitler, denied the Holocaust.
Piers is still looking for a reason. He still thinks there's some kind of like thorn in his paw that's making him say all these mean things. Maybe he just feels that way, Piers. You can't, they keep trying to find a reason that he doesn't really feel that way. Maybe he just does, just like a lot of people do.
Of course, I love Jewish people, but I also love Nazis. I do love Hitler. You posted an image of the swastika used within a Star of David, which led to a second suspension from X for incitement to violence, and so on. Right? He then produced a song called Heil Hitler, which was banned from many platforms and so on. This is deliberate baiting of Jewish people in the most...
He doesn't understand trolling at all. He doesn't understand trolling. I don't think Nick Fuentes even believes those things. I don't think he really likes Hitler or anything like that. I think he does it just because he knows it gets in you old motherfuckers' minds and it drives you crazy. Look at how deranged Piers has got, because he can't believe someone would say this thing, and he can't even think that maybe Nick's just saying that to make me like this. He doesn't get it.
Terrific.
Boomers never get it.
Again, I'll just ask you, are you comfortable
the song was a banger,
working for him with that?
Well, of course I'm comfortable. I mean, he's an extraordinary human being. I mean, there's a perfectly good explanation for that, which he has given a number of times. You can find it plausible or implausible, as the case may be. But the way he explained it, and he did this on a live stream, it's readily available. He said, I want to perform Heil Hitler at the Grammys, because if I do that, those words will suddenly no longer have power. I will have conquered them. I will have drained them of all of their, I forget the expression he used, but I suppose I would say something, you know, all of their, you know, their toxic, hateful, or taboo energy, or whatever. You know, the way he was articulating his artistic project in doing that, and some people will find it persuasive and some won't, was that was in terms of, you know, like abuse survivors. We used to laugh at them 10 years ago when they had trigger warnings and safe spaces and, you know, little puppy rooms and stuff like that, because everybody knows that if you get raped or something terrible happens to you, the best way to put your life back together is exposure therapy, so that it doesn't become this sort of thing that, you know, that turns you into a blubbering mess every time you hear about it for the rest of your life. You just slowly kind of acclimatize back and get used to it. Ye seemed to be taking a similar view about some words, phrases, and opinions that have had a stranglehold on our culture for a long time. And it's funny, you know, he perhaps hasn't read, you know, the Holocaust in American Life by Peter Novick, the Princeton academic, who explains how that particular historical event was sort of rebooted in the academy in the 1960s and formed the basis of modern, what we would call grievance culture and victimhood ideology that became BLM. But you know, Ye sort of seemed to instinctively intuit that this was being weaponized and leveraged to stop people talking about other things, like Israel, for instance, or other things like the fact that one particular group of people were you know, seemed to be all the managers in the entertainment industry, and they were systematically defrauding and screwing.
All right. I think Milo is a very well thought out, intelligent man, but he keeps letting his gay shit get into the way. Because that's just what it is with Nick. It's just petty gay fucking jealousy shit. That's all it is. Like they agree about 90% of the shit, and he can't stop being a petty gay guy. But if he gets past that, I think he's going to be really, really a force. He just can't stop. But I'm going to fast forward past some of Milo's complaining and whining and get to the main event. No. Here it is. There we go. Right here.
An eagle-eyed member of the Uncensored team, noticed that one of the first eager superfans to comment on my interview with Nick Fuentes was Stephen Crowder, the host of Louder with Crowder, who wrote on our YouTube channel, How to Not Conduct an Interview 101. And Mr. Crowder joins me now. Welcome to you, Mr. Crowder.
Thank you for having me, sir. Merry Christmas. Or do you guys say Happy Christmas? I've heard it both ways.
We do both. I'd be very happy to wish you a Happy Christmas and a Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Despite you impugning my qualities as an interviewer. You did expand on this. You said Piers Morgan is a liberal at heart, which I think is probably right. So he spent the whole interview trying to gotcha his way through identity politics on a guy who already rejects the premise. I did think that was an interesting commentary, actually. I would start by saying...
Point on, some would say. Point on, just like everyone else is saying, Piers.
I wasn't trying to gotcha him because I'd already made it clear I was going to put to him, I'd already said this publicly, I was going to put to him all the more contentious things that he has said.
So he's going to do the exact same thing every other interview has been for the past 4 years. Just look at this clip of the thing you said and him giggle and go, yeah, I did. Isn't that funny? That's why y'all can't beat him, because he doesn't care. If someone says, if he comes out and just says, I'm a blatant racist, what are you going to do? All your little racist things. Oh, you said this was racist. He's like, yep, I'm a racist. What are you fucking going to do? He knows it doesn't work because people know you call everyone racist. So it's not even a bad thing anymore. If milk is racist, well, I'll be racist too, because I like milk.
Gain notoriety and challenge him properly about it, which I think I did. I don't categorize that as a gotcha. He got very exercised about the story involving his father. And I said on an earlier panel we did that actually, if I had my time again, I wouldn't have named his father, although it's easily discoverable on the internet, but I wouldn't have done that. I would still have told the anecdote because I was trying to explain to Nick Fuentes, the story was put in the public domain by Nick Fuentes about his father in a way.
Piers knew Nick Fuentes had people show up to his house to try to unalive him. And then he wants to announce his dad's name and try and say, oh, this is the reason you're like this. What do you think's going to happen, Piers? What do you think's going to happen whenever people are trying to get him, and then you point at his dad and say, and give his name, might as well give it his address and say, yeah, this is the guy responsible for the things you said. What do you think's going to happen, Piers? Good things? Good things? I doubt it.
In which you could only construe from it that his father made decisions when Nick Fuentes was young, which appeared to be racist decisions. And I was curious whether he felt he was a product of that environment. Now, he went nuts about that, and he's perfectly entitled to. And he's come after me and my family. If he's perfectly entitled to do all that, I don't care. But I was curious why.
Funny how that happens, huh? When you try and get his dad murdered, he may make some fun of your family too.
You felt that I was playing gotcha with him and not just actually, I think, doing my job as a journalist and just challenging him about the more contentious things that he said.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. I don't think you challenged him on the most contentious things. And by the way, it's not an impugnment of your character. It's a different interviewing style, right? I think that trying to shame someone like Nick Fuentes for being racist, for being a misogynist, like that's...
You should be shaming Piers for being such a poor interviewer. He's been doing it for like 40 years. He should be really fucking good. He should be dialed in by now. And he does the dumbest shit in every interview. The dumbest woke horse shit that we're supposed to be getting rid of. But somehow this woke idiot is still preaching his woke gospel every fucking day.
That's a layup for him. He's already been accused of that, and I don't think it's very fruitful. I mean, I don't want to conflate gotcha with challenging. So I would say, by the way, yeah, if he's going after your family, Nick Fuentes, if you're watching, strongly condemn that from your audience if anything is happening out of line.
I don't say to do that. Piers called his dad out by name, called him a racist. Why should Nick go and stop other people from doing whatever the fuck they want to do to Piers's family? Why would that be his problem? I wouldn't be mine. You talk shit about my family, hell, I'll find out where your family lives. Like, don't fucking bring family into it unless you're an orphan. You shouldn't bring family into it.
But I also would say, when the guy makes a good point and says, hey, you know what, my dad's not here to defend himself. Could we move on from that? Don't do it 6 more times. But I counted 6 times and you're not able to get to where you actually have disagreements. See, when I sat down with Nick, and yeah, I played his clips back, people could argue that it was tedious, but I would play a 1.5-minute clip, a 2-minute clip, because I wanted to show it in context. And I was able.
I'll give Crowder credit for that. Like, I used to be a Crowder guy. I watched him for a little bit back through last Trump term, and I kind of fell off of it a little bit when he went to Rumble and all that. But I do see a lot of benefit from watching Crowder now, and I'm going to start trying to watch it again. His humor kind of scares me away a little bit because his humor is not really my take. It's a little jazz handsy, but his commentary is pretty good.
To actually lay out, we were actually able to contrast our policy, our prescription differences, where people know. And so I think if you go after, father being racist, I don't even know that you would construe his father's being racist because he doesn't like Applebee's. No one likes Applebee's.
This is the woke shit I'm talking about. Because Pierce thinks that regular people don't see a fucking place that is just swarmed with black people and they're white and they think, hey, I'm going to go in there too. That's not what goes through white people's minds when they see that, especially whenever they're ghetto black people. Like if I saw a bunch of black people in suits, I wouldn't even notice they were black people. But whenever you see them and you can see their underwear, no, I don't want to go and eat at a place where I can see everyone's underwear. I don't want to do that because it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So Pierce is just living in some fantasy world because he gets driven to Popeyes in a limo. He thinks it's okay to eat there, but you don't go in, not to a bad neighborhood, not if you're white. People know this. You don't have, and it's not a bad thing to say it. If someone would have told that little girl on the subway, she'd be alive today. Dad, don't sit by that guy. He looks dangerous. But this woke bullshit where you just, I don't see color. Let me sit by this giant black guy who stabs me in the face. That's what happens whenever you teach this woke horse shit to your kids. Teach your kids to be smart. Teach them, you don't want to go eat in a restaurant where everyone is black and you can see their underwear.
No one likes Olive Garden.
Hang on. That's not what he's
If I smell cocoa butter, I'm leaving.
said. He literally told the story that his father didn't like that particular restaurant chain or others because they were known for black fare.
Sure.
Well, that's racist.
Who says? Who says it's racist? That is black fare. If that's all you see eating there, what do you call it? It's black food, I guess. That's not racist at all. That's just observant. I observe that is black fare because I see people's underwear standing in line. Black fare.
Black fare. What if people don't like black fare as far as food?
Yeah.
What if people don't want to be somewhere where they're more likely to end up in a World Star hip hop video? This is where we get to the issue of you and him discussing per capita. Right, let me ask you this. Like you're a Catholic. We were talking about this. You said you'd be happy to talk about it. What do you think is going to be fruitful in attacking a celibate Catholic for not getting laid?
I didn't attack him.
Driving people into his arms.
I didn't attack him.
He said he needs to get laid.
I think he does.
It's a heresy.
I think
Pierce is a Catholic. He knows they teach you to do that. And I watched the interview with Nick. I actually reacted to it. He did say, I'm Catholic. That was one of his reasons. He just said it early in the beginning. But he shouldn't have to re-announce it every time you ask him the same question over again. Yes, Pearson, I'm still Catholic. Yes, Pearson, I'm Catholic, and I'm supposed to be a virgin, remember? But Pierce pretends like he doesn't know his Catholic teachings.
I think he does. I think he's an incel.
So you advocate heresy.
I think I perfectly understand it.
How is he an incel? He's a millionaire. He is very famous. You don't have to be a millionaire and famous to get laid. He's actually a good-looking kid. He could go out and get laid tonight if he wanted to, very easily. But women aggravate him, and I fucking fully get it. I fully get it. I'm just willing to push through the aggravation until I nut and leave. And he's not to that point yet.
If you're a devout Catholic, which I'm not, I was brought up a Catholic and I was given spiritual guidance by Catholic nuns, and a lot of my family are very devout Catholics. I'm not particularly, but I still adhere to, broadly adhere to Catholicism, albeit there are parts.
Pierce joined a new church, the woke church. And that supersedes any religion you're in. And when you're in the woke church, all other religion doesn't matter. You'll see he criticized Nick for following what Catholics are supposed to do.
Of the teachings I don't agree with. So that's my position on it. But I can understand if he'd said to me, the reason I've never had sex.
Then why bring it up, Pierce? Why is it relevant whether he's been laid or not? Because I said in my interview specifically, just so you know, I'll answer for everything I say. When I interviewed him, I said, I hate it when people use something that should be seen as a virtue as an attack. Out of all the views, if you view them as reprehensible, and I, by the way, strongly disagree with a lot of Nick's views, the least relevant is whether he's celibate as a devout Catholic.
I don't care if that little dude actually does turn out to be gay. Doesn't fucking matter. Everything he's saying about Israel's true, and everything he's saying about how awful women are is true. So he can go fuck dudes all he likes. I really don't give a shit. I mean, I think it's funny. I might make some jokes, but I'm not going to fucking stop listening to the dude because of it. If he's making sense, he's making sense. And what you do in your personal life it used to never have shit to do with what you do in front of a camera. Now it does, because everybody knows everything about everybody, but it really shouldn't fucking matter. If he makes sense and the things he's saying are true, thumbs up.
That's like a good thing. And so you actually give him the moral
but
high ground. He says, hey,
had you said
my
to me,
dad out of it.
Yeah, but hang on, you're putting up a better defense, if I may suggest, than he did, because had he said to me, I'm a devout Catholic, and the reason I haven't had sex is because the Catholic Church forbids that.
He did say that earlier in the interview when he was asking him about another thing. He pointed out, I'm Catholic. That's the way I was brought up. He forgets it because he didn't restate it every time he wants to criticize him for something. He's got to bring up his Catholic badge to hide behind. It's not a shield, Piers. That's just the reason. He's already told you the reason, and he doesn't have to restate it every time you ask again.
And says you should be married before you have sex. Perfectly reasonable answer. That's not what he said. He never said that at all.
So you didn't do your research, because he said that literally dozens of times.
He may have said it.
Piers never does his research, and then he plays dumb whenever, I didn't know he was a Catholic boy. He fucking said it in the interview. Go watch it back. I think he may have said it twice even.
Elsewhere, he didn't say it to me. I only asked him about that stuff because there is a view that he is what they call an incel, and that he whips up that kind of mentality, and that's why he's such a misogynist.
That's what's pissing me off. He literally said at least a few times that he was Catholic. Now, Piers tries to pretend like he doesn't know he's Catholic later, and that's the reason he's celibate. But I don't think you have to re-announce it every time for every question so that you're hiding behind some kind of a shield. That's not what that is. You asked for the reason. He told you the reason already. He's Catholic. But you try to pretend. You are Catholic yourself. You know you're not supposed to be sleeping with women before you're married. You know this. So why are you pretending, Piers?
About women and so on. It's an interesting thing to ask him. He seemed to me quite happy to answer it all. He was quite emphatic in his answers. Fine. I didn't see that as an attack. I was joking about getting laid because it seems to me he's a very angry guy.
Can I jump in for a second here?
Yeah.
Because this is...
Exactly, Chad. I don't think he has fact checkers. If you watch his shit, he gets so much shit wrong. He doesn't have fact checkers. I think he just, like me, just shoots for like here. I don't have no fact checkers. And I think that's what his problem is, because he's too big to be doing it like that. You can't be like that when you have a CNN style show. He's got, what has he got? 4.31 million subscribers. You really need to have a fact checker at that point if you're going to be interviewing like Tucker Carlson and big names like that, Nick Fuentes.
Where I think this is important, right? His audience will. People out there, by the way, some who are voluntarily celibate because they're devout Christians, but also if you look at the dating pool out there, I don't think it's misogyny to say, I wouldn't date one of those young women if they were growing on my ass. And they're actually out there living in a world that's been created. They will identify you as someone who's helped create that, right? Someone who says, I don't care if the UK no longer looks white. I don't care if we lose our cultural identity. Hey, it's great, women's rights, and they're looking at their prospects.
And Piers has said those things. He doesn't care if England turns all brown. He doesn't care. He'll just learn to speak whatever language they are using now. That's what kind of a cuck this dude is. And I'm not going to get into the shit with his wife. I did watch some videos on this shit with his wife, and it makes a lot of this interview make more sense. Just the mindset behind Piers. He's totally cucked by his wife. There are videos out there. I don't want to do that kind of shit because she's not an out there person. So I'm not going to drag her into it. But there are videos out there. Go watch those about how big a cuck Piers Morgan is in his personal life. And it will make these interviews make a lot more sense to you.
And when you say, hey, you're celibate or whatever it is, you haven't gotten laid.
He let his wife take a sabbatical from being married for a few months just to go get plowed in California and took her back. That's what I'm talking about.
Incel. Guess what? You give him the moral high ground. When you say, hey, what about your dad? And he asks you, and I will say, he asked pretty respectfully, don't do that. You go on 6 more times. What did you ask about Stone?
Well, because I thought what he was doing.
You said little twerp.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
You said little twerp.
Stephen, I hear you. I hear you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, honestly, I'm not, because I've got a lot of respect for you. I think that
Well, thank you.
I think what he tried to do, I think he was taken aback when I revealed that anecdote about his father. And I think he didn't want to address what he actually said on air with that anecdote, because it's pretty damning when you hear it. And I think he decided very quickly, because he's a smart, quick operator, to turn it into me attacking him about his dad who wasn't there and how disgusting and blah. And that's fine, but I kept trying to bring him back. I kept saying, look, it's not an attack on your father.
Who is dad?
Well, I wasn't attacking his dad. I was saying if you tell a story which looks to the world when they hear it that you're saying your father was racist, can that have an influence on you?
Fair point, Pierce. You went on the news and announced your wife taking a sabbatical where she's going to go get plowed in LA while you stay in Britain or wherever you fucking stay. So are we allowed to talk about that now? Can we talk about it since you put it out there? It's on the news. Wow. That's the thing. He wants it for him, but not for you. He doesn't fucking follow his own rules.
As you grow up, that was the question I was making.
Just like when he canceled Pearl Davis for interviewing Nick Fuentes, for having the nerve to interview Nick Fuentes. And then a couple months later, he does it. It's fine. That's the hypocrite that Piers Morgan is. I need y'all to understand that.
I didn't want him getting off the hook of answering that question about his environment, having heard him in his own words put that story out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, here's the thing. In trying to keep him 6 times, and that's what I counted, on the hook for his dad maybe being a racist. Look, if your dad's in the Klan, it couldn't be relevant. It has nothing to do with the price of tea in China, right? What hook?
Well, it is if you openly admit to being a racist.
Hold on, asking him about.
Because in Pierce's mind, if someone is a racist, you have to shun them from society. You can't talk to them anymore. They just don't exist. You're unaliving them. You're unpersoning them. Because that's the woke hegemony he lives in. He thinks like this, that's just the way everyone should be. If you find out one of your friends is racist, you just stop talking to him. And that's not reality. Everybody knows a person who's racist. You don't just stop talking to them because they say funny shit. You just try and get them to say racist shit in front of people because it's funny. Pierce doesn't live in reality. That's the fucking problem with him.
Stalin. And I say this because the last time I was on your show, remember we were talking about Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would hope that you would be just as hard on Candace and people like Tucker for some of the things that they've said.
Sure.
I think it's fair to be even-handed across the board.
Yeah, I agree.
Stalin, I said I would like to ask him about that.
Good point, Chad. He's fucking backpedaling just like he wanted Nick to do. And the fucked up thing, the part that's driving me crazy, he's bringing in celebrities to fucking point at him and say how stupid he is. This is like a humiliation ritual. It's like what his wife does to him.
Right? Is he a fan? Is he actually an admirer? Or does he just mean to say he's fascinated? What did you ask? You asked him about his dad 6 times. You attacked him as and I don't mean attack him. You present him, but racist, misogynist, right? Stuff that he already knows. That's the playbook. You'll drive your fans into his own arms. What was your question on Stalin?
Well, I asked him.
There wasn't one.
Well, there was actually.
There wasn't one.
No, you're
No,
missing.
there wasn't.
No, there was. You just didn't hear it. So I actually brought on a British journalist called Danny Finkelstein, who spent 90 seconds in a video talking about what Stalin and...
So my question to him about Stalin is, I played a video of some old guy talking about his mom being murdered by Stalin. That's the question. And Pierce thinks that's a legitimate question. Just playing a video of him, some old guy complaining about Stalin.
And Hitler had done to his family. I did it in the context of him saying Hitler's cool, but I did. Stalin was addressed in that, and he was totally dismissive of a Jewish man talking about his family being annihilated by Stalin and Hitler.
Do you hear yourself? Do you think that you think that's going to be effective or fruitful?
Well, it
Bring
wasn't.
out a guy named
It wasn't.
Finkelstein. No, it wasn't. You didn't ask him. Let me read you what I asked him about Stalin. Okay, because I think a lot of people, you responded saying it was softball. Did you watch the whole interview that I conducted with Nick?
Well, before you read what you're about to read, let me play a little mashup of you interviewing Nick Fuentes, and you can respond to this. Hang on.
Okay, but did you watch the whole interview?
Yeah,
Nick Fuentes, do you hate all Jews, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an anti-Semite, a noted anti-Semite?
No.
Okay. Clears that up. Do you believe that white people are superior to all other races on the planet?
No.
Okay. Do you want to eradicate all non-whites from the United States?
No.
Okay. Well, Barry Weiss will be very happy to hear that. No doubt she's watching. And then because this happens a lot, right? It's Tucker did this with you. Fed. Nick Fuentes, are you in fact a Fed?
No.
Okay.
I got to say, mate,
I love that Pierce thinks this is a gotcha on Crowder. Crowder did all that shit in the fucking beginning of the interview. Like you should do. Like that's what they do in a court trial too. You want to get everything on the record. Are you this? Are you that? Are you this? If you can get them to do all that, that's perfect. Then when you go to the interview section, you start asking questions and find out, hey, I thought you said you don't think this. Pierce is literally learning how to interview in front of us. He's been doing it for 2 decades and he's just now learning. Yeah, You want to get those things on the record so you can show later that he's maybe not being consistent, or if he is being consistent, you can show that in your interview. But Piers just wanted to be a gotcha. Well, you're just asking him these questions. Yeah, you never asked him any of those. None of them. So you have nothing to even say, hey, I gotcha. There's no gotcha to your gotcha because you didn't even ask him in the beginning, so you would have something to compare it to. Wait a minute, I thought you said this in the beginning. You have nothing to compare it to. Piers is an amateur who's been doing this for over 20 years. That's insane. Insane.
It's one of the most forensic examinations of interviewing masterclass I think I've ever seen. I mean, the follow-ups were magnificent.
Nick,
Magnificent.
Pierce, did you watch the whole interview?
Nope.
No, you didn't.
He just watched the beginning. So he thinks that was the interview. Oh, are you a racist? Nope. Softballs. Yeah, he did another 2 hours after that, Pierce. So you could probably watch and learn some shit if you fucking had any brains.
Okay, so one of us came here quite a bit more prepared, which seems to be your approach with Nick. So let me read you my exact question on Stalin. Those were layups specifically because, again, I think you and I both agree, right? We want to have reasonable discussions. You don't want to radicalize
I
people.
agree.
Get rid of the bull crap on the outset so that we could actually get to real differences. And I think here's something that I really pursue when I interview: truth and understanding. I asked him about Stalin. Let me read you the exact question later on. It would help if you watched the whole interview. I said, my question to you would be, I know that you've said we want a Catholic theocracy or a Christian theocracy. I've heard the word dictatorship. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would ask you, since the end point seems similar to where Stalin would want us to reach, swap atheism for Catholicism, would you be able to name, or is there any one thing that you think America concretely should copy about Stalin's rule or revolutionary methods to get there? And guess what? We were able to actually answer. We were able to actually discuss it. How many retractions on your show?
You see how Crowder actually asks questions that kind of get into his mindset to try and see what is it you like about this dictator who killed so many people. He's actually trying to peel the onion back and see what's underneath. And Piers just wants to gotcha. You said this. That's all. That's the difference here. Crowder is an interviewer, and Piers is a mannequin that the fucking deep state put in front of a camera and tells them what to ask. That's the difference.
Zero. Quite a few on mine. How many times did we actually get into discussions regarding where we disagree? And let me tell you where I disagree with him. I'm to the right of him on some issues. I'm definitely to the right of him economically. He's a pretty big sort of centralized economy guy, but we did it in good faith. And I presented him with his own questions. We got that out of the way. If you don't watch the whole interview, yeah, you can take 15 seconds. Did you get to any, that was my question. And yours was, well, you never asked about Stalin. You said, do you still think Hitler is fucking cool?
Yeah.
How'd that work out for you? What'd you learn?
That he does.
And that's new? That he thinks they have nice outfits? They're Hugo Boss.
No, but okay, he didn't say
To be fair, they were really dope outfits.
that as his reason.
Did you learn about Stalin, Pierce? Did you learn about
I learned this about Stalin. I learned this about Stalin.
Disenfranchised?
As I said to you, I played a clip from a guy who literally lost family members, close family members, to Stalin and to Hitler.
Sure.
And Nick Fuentes' response was to mock him and then to unleash his groypers on this guy who've been now mercilessly abusing and mocking him about the loss of his family members to Stalin and Hitler for the last 48 hours.
Piers never understands. The whole point is, why are you not allowed to say you like Hitler? Why are you allowed to say you like Mussolini or you like this other one, but you can't say that one? Why is it? If they don't control the media, why are you not allowed to say that? Isn't that a fascinating question? Because you'll say that they control all the media. Here's proof of it. Like,
Hours. Now, you might think that's acceptable, or that somehow I didn't push that
my
hard
God.
enough.
This is what legacy media is done. You can't compete. Look, guys like Nick,
I'm not
guys
in
like Andrew
legacy
Wilson on
media.
your show,
Chad, that's a great point too. That's exactly what I'm trying to show here. He doesn't even try to debate in good faith. He doesn't even know what it means. He just says what the fucking daddies upstairs tell him he's got to say. Whatever Israel thinks that week. God, dude. I've had my fill of Piers. I watched him all weekend because I was just like trying to piece together what he was thinking in this interview, and apparently it's proving my point. He is not an interviewer. He is just the deep state. That's all it is.
They've come up, I mean that you were at CNN, HLN for a very long time and you're still following the same format. And so there, accusing someone young of being racist is a win. But with people who've grown up being accused of racism, of misogyny their whole life, they don't give a shit. And so you should get to the point where you can actually understand. Here's the one thing I would say that would help. Listen. You weren't listening to the guy, so you're not even able to lay out where you disagree and your own audience.
Well, I don't think you heard that. I don't think you could have heard the whole interview either. Then, I mean, look, I'm going to go and listen to yours
every
in full.
last second, pillar to post.
Okay, but look, for 2 hours I talked to the guy. I came with an open mind. I wanted to know whether it was performative, whether he did these.
An open mind. Do you think Nick Fuentes was going to convince Piers Morgan that the Jews are in charge of everything in our country? I don't think he was going to do that. Like, that's bullshit.
Bullshit. Whether he said things as a joke, whether if he did and it blew up, he regretted any of them, or whether he really means this stuff. And I learned a lot more about Nick Fuentes in the 2 hours than I knew before. You probably knew it all already because you've interviewed him before. I haven't.
Because you do research. Crowder's never interviewed him before. That was their first meeting. Just like it was yours, Piers. See what a real interviewer does versus what deep state fucking props do.
The first time I've
never interviewed him before. This was my first time I've ever spoken with him or interacted with him whatsoever. I did do my research, and I already knew what his stance was on Stalin. I already knew how he clarified it. I already knew his stance on racism. And here's what I would say.
See what research can do?
If I'm being as accurate as I can be, right, for the general populace, I think most people, if they listen to Nick Fuentes, his views on race and crime, they'd say, okay, someone like that has a case. Certainly any man under the age of 25. I think a lot of people would broad strokes categorize it as anti-Semitic. We were able to get into that. I was able to communicate that I thought Islamic immigration is a greater threat than global Jewry. And guess what? He disagreed, but we understood each other. You don't de-radicalize people by marginalizing everyone who actually makes good points, by spending 6 follow-up questions on a racist
you know what? Okay,
accusing them of not getting laid and calling them twerps.
Steve, here's what I'll concede. Like I did with the initial reaction that you did. I will concede I didn't get him. I mean, other than him saying, I believe now, actually, in a satirical way. In other words, I don't think he really meant it. But when he said he did think at least 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust, he did it in a way that others, like Glenn Greenwald, have told me he didn't mean it. Whatever, it's up to him. It's down to him. I don't think I don't think I got anywhere with Nick Fuentes. I don't think I got anywhere to him changing his mind about anything. I certainly didn't get anywhere in stopping him unleashing his Groyper hounds on.
This is proof right here. You could see it. I promise you, Steven Crowder did all of his own research. He spent hours watching Nick Fuentes clips. He watched probably 50 interviews Nick Fuentes has done. He probably did research into his family, research into where he lives, how he grew up, everything. Everything Nick Fuentes told him, he already knew. Piers doesn't have time to do his own research. He has to go hold his wife's purse while she shops for new boyfriends. So he can't really waste as much time as Crowder can. Crowder, he doesn't have a lot of time because he's got that hot new Mexican girl. So he's busy too, as I would be if I was him. Like, rightly so. But he took the time. He is very devoted. He does his research. He's the first one that I saw would like put his own footnotes in his own videos. He footnotes his own videos. That's dedication. And Piers doesn't have that dedication. Piers shows up, gets out of his limo, comes in, they hand him a script. Here you go. You got Fuentes today. Oh, good. He doesn't do shit. I promise you, he's got people that do everything for him. And it shows. It shows in the product. You can see that Crowder did research, and you can see that Piers did not.
Me or my family, whatever, I don't care. I've had far worse, and it's fine. If you're in the media jungle long enough, you get these pile-ons occasionally, and it's just better just to ride them out with a smile on your face. It's whatever. But I didn't get anywhere with it. So in a way, I am listening to you because I'm curious how you do get anywhere with somebody like that when his whole shtick is really just on doubling, trebling, quadrupling down. And he says things which I genuinely do find really offensive. When he talks about women in the way that he does, it is really...
So Piers can't interview anyone who he finds offensive. And that's the fucking issue. You sometimes have to interview despicable people. Some people you talk to are awful. You have to interview them too. That's what an interviewer is.
Really offensive.
Well, let me answer. Here's how you get somewhere. By not playing gotcha. So for example, when you start off, if you've done the research, you know it's facetious. Same thing that Jillian Michaels did. Do you think all women need to be raped? No, he was citing, by the way, study after study that you can replicate that 62% of women
Sure, he said that
have
to me.
some form of
He
a
said
rape
that to me.
fantasy. Yes, so sexually dominant. But when you start off with that, guess what? Young people go, okay, all right, same old, same old. You
I
could
didn't
have
start
asked
off
him,
with
hey,
that.
what
Though.
are your views on women?
I started off with this thing that all women are annoying and they all get old and fat and ugly.
What part of that?
Pierce don't have eyes. Pierce hasn't looked around and seen how fat women have gotten. Like, we have eyes. It's called realism. You just walk out in the world and see what's really out there. They are fat. They are aggravating. Try talking to one. Try talking to one that you don't want to have sex with. See how aggravating they are. They say stupid shit that doesn't make any sense. Like, they are aggravating. You just put up with it because they have the magic box you want to get into. That's just known. Everyone knows this.
That do you disagree with?
All of it.
You don't think that women get fatter and more attractive? Men do too, by the way.
I think men
You and I
largely
are
do.
both getting fatter and uglier. And I think that a lot of women, particularly if you go on TikTok and you see generationally, I think they're annoying. And I think that is a symptom of a serious problem, which is deeply rooted feminism, which, by the way, is the same source problem for LGBTQAI. And the reason that you have biological men winning Olympic medals, right? You see that as a problem. You need to get to where you diverge or what the root of the problem is. And here's the thing, you're never going to get there if you just discount young people who are facing different problems than you. I understand. I don't think they're right.
And Crowder's making a really good point here. That is the root of feminism, where you just have to pretend like the reality you see isn't real because it'll hurt a female's opinion. Like, it'll hurt her feelings. That's what feminism is. They literally want you to see something and then pretend like, well, that'll hurt a girl's feelings, so it's bad. That's what that is. That's all feminism is. What hurts ladies' feelings.
On all of it. But I understand it because I was listening. I think you could have listened to him better. If your goal is the pursuit of truth, and actually, and I would imagine your goal, if you think his views are abhorrent, by the way, and I think some of them are. So if your goal is to peel some of those people off, give them the floor to explain context so that you can contrast it. But it ended up getting back to gotcha.
Okay, but final question. Which of his views do you find abhorrent then?
Well, when he talks about, for example, I would say wrong. I would say wrong, the idea of global Jewry, and I told him that. The idea that massive third world immigration, particularly from Islamic countries, that largely rests at the feet of the Jews. I think it rests at the feet of these Islamic nations, of these third world nations that I would call.
I'll give Crowder this bit too. Sometimes Nick does go a little bit far into siding with the Muslims. I'm not really going that far. I'll team up with them if it's to eliminate Zionism, but I'm not going to pretend like the things they do are okay because they're not Jewish. Like, that's where I kind of side closer towards Crowder's side than Fuentes' side. I don't really make excuses like that.
Crap holes, and that's considered a more offensive view. I think it's a problem, for example, when you ask him if he's a racist, he's going to answer yes. He's going to answer yes, but he actually answered, by the way, everyone's racist, and then he actually offered a qualifier, and through that, you're racist because you live in a largely white area. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. You can't.
That's their video bleeding through, not mine. They had the producers coming through in this part. That's not on our side. I was going to say something.
Just ignore the points and go back to a soundbite. That's how a guy like Nick Fuentes, that's how he thrives. And by the way, people in the comment section, your own comment section, I get that some of them are trolling. Go easy, guys, on Pierce. It's Christmas.
Do not go easy on Pierce. I don't give a fuck if it's Christmas. Go hard.
I think you were trying to do a good job. What I'm telling you, telling you, Pierce, is that it's not the way to.
I think he was trying to do a good job in his own way. Like, from low effort Pierce, he probably came in 5 minutes early for that interview. I'm sure he, came in maybe 5-10 minutes early. But it's not like what you're doing. It's not like footnoting your own fucking video. Pierce doesn't do that.
Approach a different generation of people who come up in a blood sport debate like they did on Twitch. It's going to actually give them a win.
Yeah, I think I buy into the argument they couldn't give a shit, actually. And that's one of the more depressing aspects of it.
Easier to dismiss them.
But if I'm worried about their comments, I would turn the comments off, and they're wide open. So bring your worst, you little groypers. Stephen Crowder, Merry Christmas to you. Always good to have you on. And I enjoy our conversations about these things. I think I get stuff out of them. I hope you do too. We always have an interesting chat, so thank you.
I do. Happy Christmas. I appreciate you taking the time.
All the best.
All right. And I have one more. This one was from a different video, though, so I got to go back. It's actually in my downloads. Shit. This one was Pierce and Andrew, because Andrew Wilson actually went on. No, it's not in there. Fuck. Damn it. All right. You got to bear with me for a second. I got to go find this stupid thing. This is it, I think. Yeah. I think
It's a
this
really
is it.
interesting discussion. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Just the panel section.
Racist.
I mean, I thought it was an interesting contradiction there, which he was probably calculating in real time, that having got so exercised about the idea that his father was racist, he then said everyone's racist and there's nothing wrong with it, effectively. But putting that to one side, Warren, I mean, you know, this issue of whether you platform somebody like Fuentes, who has these inflammatory views, I think we can all agree they're inflammatory, a lot of his views. You know, am I, by doing it, am I continuing to fuel this phenomenon in a way that is a negative for society? Or in a free democratic society, you know, should I be...
You know it's a bad sign whenever you have to do 4 episodes after your interview, just getting famous people to come on and either give you attaboys or condemn you for your fucking interview. Like, you're still that needy, Piers. Why? We're still talking about your interview on your show that happened 5 days ago.
Entitled to interview who the hell I like, as long as I do my job as a journalist of holding
Which you
account
didn't.
over these things, let other people work it out for themselves.
No, I think it's totally understandable, and I agree that you would have him on. I was in the same position where I was genuinely shocked when I made a knee-jerk response video to something he had said. I was overwhelmed by the
I'm gonna tell you, that little hairy sissy guy, whenever he talks, I'm just fast forwarding him. I don't even listen to him. He is just the most disgusting person. I can't even, his voice is like acid to my ears. Like, I can't listen to that little shithead. It's like every little twerp millennial now. That's not millennial, Zoomers. That's what they all look like to me now. This little fucking dork.
response. I was like, I had
Finally figured out how to get pussy. You got a lot of women. Just figured it out.
no idea there were this many people out there that agreed with him. And I had people that I knew actually telling me, no, you're oversimplifying this. And I actually went back and looked at the same clip and realized I had oversimplified it. There was actually, I was looking at it through the narrative, going into it without much prior research. And that actually led to me sitting down with him for an hour and a half. I think it's important, though, if you want to achieve the ideal outcome, it is important to actually genuinely be trying to gain a better understanding of his reasoning and in his arguments, and not just trying to win or embarrass, because in the long run, I think that will backfire and that will cause him to become bigger.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You know, people were asking me, you know, he won, or people said you won. Or I said, look, I didn't seek out to win. I don't seek out ever to win an interview.
This guy right here in the middle with the blue shirt, he's got such a droll delivery. Like, it's hard to tell sometimes even where he lies it because it's so slow and drawn out. But he is usually on the same side as me, I find. Like, if you can sit through all that to get to see what his opinion is, I think he's on our side with this one. I don't know.
Interview. That's not the point of an interview.
He puts me to sleep.
What I wanted to do over 2 hours was personally get to know him better, because I know nothing about him other than what I've read. I've never met him. I've never interviewed him. And B, to go over all these things which he's notorious for, and actually work out the correct context, what he really believes, what may have motivated this, and so on.
Yeah, he's good. Like I said, I'm following him. But sometimes he just talks so slow and so drawn out. Like, I need Andrew to fucking come in and throw some jokes in there to keep my attention. I have ADHD, so I can't sit through something long like that. He needs to get some. He's getting there. His opinions are good. He just needs to get a better delivery and get like a better way to get his words out there, because he does lose some. Like, I fall asleep when he's talking sometimes.
And I think a lot of that was achieved in the interview, but it wasn't. You know, I think it very quickly afterwards. You know, when I asked him during the interview, you know, how he felt towards the end, how he felt at the gun, he thought I'd been fair. He didn't think I'd ambushed him and so on. He made that clear in the interview. And yet afterwards, almost immediately afterwards, he comes out full bore on the attack, which is what he does. But it was interesting to me that the reaction from his sort of mob of groypers was instantaneous and extraordinarily widespread. They just come as this mob. And it's
Oh, did he sick his mob of people on you when you tried to get his dad murdered? Aw.
very, and it's, if you're not me, who's got a very thick skin, it's a pretty hard thing to get back at you. Look, I don't care.
They said really mean things about me being a pussy whip guy for my wife. You tried to get his dad killed. I think that's okay.
I've had a lot worse, and they'll move on, and that's what happens. But if you're not, actually, it can be very intimidating. It was very threatening, very racist, very anti-Semitic, very, very nasty. Actually, like I said, it wouldn't scrape the surface with me because I got a skin of 1,000 rhinos. But to other people, I could see.
No, you're just used to everybody telling you the truth.
It really being a pretty terrifying experience.
Hey, Peter, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
They're doing that. They're doing that too.
Sorry, Glenn go first. Yeah.
Let me answer because it's really
Hang on, guys. Don't talk at once. Let me start with Glenn.
Thanks, Mark. I'm sorry to interrupt. But the issue is, why does he have such a loyal following? Why does he have such a large and loyal following? Now, you can ask that question about Donald.
Dude, Glenn Greenwald is coming here to tell Pierce what a shithead he is. Glenn Greenwald doesn't do panels. Like, he's a pretty big name.
Trump, and a lot of people were satisfied by saying, oh, America's just filled with racists and misogynists and xenophobes, and he's playing into that. And maybe that is part of it. Politicians do demagogue and play to our worst instincts always, but there was a lot more to it than that. And I think people understand 10 years later that there is and was a lot more to that. So you can say, oh yeah, Nick Fuentes has this army of angry young men who are incredibly devoted to him, who believe that he's speaking truth uniquely, because they're also a bunch of Nazis and racists. And
yeah, obviously he is Jewish. Him and Dave Smith are both Jewish. So it's not about being Jewish. It's about being Israeli. That's my issue. I can listen to Greenwald. He's kind of monotone too. He'll put you to sleep, but he is a smart guy. He's a very smart guy.
And Jew haters okay, that's an easy. I think there's a lot more to it, and I think people ought to grapple with the reason why he's speaking for so many people.
I think that's a very valid point. I've always said about Andrew Tate, for example, that a lot of
you didn't think that when you interviewed him, shithead.
The things he says, I can understand. If you're a young, slightly disenfranchised young man, you feel society has got it in for you, and all you ever hear is man bashing. I can understand why you gravitate to a guy like Tate, who stands there tall and proud as a very masculine kind of guy, beating his chest, talking about taking care of your body and getting fit and being a protector and all these things. I get all that.
And just as many people listen to Andrew Wilson, who's none of those things. He's not like bodybuilder or anything. Just a smart guy who understands how logic works.
But then he slides into brazen misogyny, which I hate. Mark Lamont Hill, let me bring you in here. I mean, I just want to, before you say what you want to say, what he said after the interview, Nick Fuentes, was Piers Morgan tried his best, but his hardball interrogation made me look even better than Tucker's wildly criticized softball interview. The regime can acquiesce like Tucker, or it can try to resist like Piers, but the result is inevitably the same: total groyper victory. Now, look, on one level, I admire his social media.
I fucking love that tweet. He basically said, "Squirm, Pierce, squirm."
Right? He goes on the attack. He gives it full bells. He claims total victory. It's very Trumpian, and it can work. It can be very effective. Okay, and he's perfectly entitled to claim total victory and whatever. And I'm sure all his supporters agree. But it's interesting that he views me and Tucker Carlson and other people who now do our own shows, whatever, as the regime. Almost like anybody who's older than him is part of some ancien regime that just doesn't get it. All his supporters call me boomer, right? And I was like, I've been called that probably ever.
A wife abuser? Because she couldn't take the car? Man. That's a low bar for abuse. Just know you can't take the car today is abuse. Okay.
Okay, I'm a boomer. I don't really know what that means, but it just means I'm an old dude who doesn't get it, right? And it may be, as Glenn says, there is a more interesting conversation to be had about why these guys get so popular. And it may be that when I do my slightly old school journalistic trick, as somebody put it, of just being quite tough and rigorous with questioning, that it's viewed by young people who gravitate to people like these guys as just an old boomer going through the motions.
Perhaps. I mean, and also I wouldn't assume that because he said that he believes it, that he actually believes you're part of the regime, or that he believes that one is so.
He 100% believes Piers is part of the regime. Everyone sees that Piers is part of the regime. This woke motherfucker is pretending to be conservative now? No, we all see Piers is part of the regime. He worked on CNN.
Ball or hardball. He gives a lot of the characteristics, mannerisms, approaches, styles of a cult leader. And cult leaders navigate their followers in very particular ways, including re-narrating or counter-narrating events that happen in ways that are favorable to them. That's why when I said I struggle with whether or not you should have him on the show, I didn't say you shouldn't, and I didn't say you should. It's a struggle for me. Again, as a journalist, I have interviewed.
This little pussy almost cried because a girl was going to say the N-word in front of him. Called himself a victim. She didn't even say it yet. He's a victim already.
Despots, I've killers, people, genocide leaders. I've done it all. And there are days where it feels very clear and obvious why I should do it. They need to be held accountable. They need to be forced to answer tough questions. And I don't put them in contrary to what was said, I don't hold them in a different box than I do Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or someone who I voted for, potentially, right? They all need to be held to scrutiny. Everybody in power needs to be held accountable. I'm with that. My concern in this particular case, though, is that I'm not sure what the net gain is. I don't know if you really got to know a better him, not because you didn't do a great job, you did do a great job, but because I'm not sure who the person is behind that persona. And the question I would ask you, Piers, is if you knew ahead of time that doing this interview would double the amount of people who
Nick asked him if he gives dudes tampons. He said he would.
Believed in the worst things that he believes, would you still do the interview? If you knew ahead of time that it would double that
honestly
number,
don't think.
would you still do it?
Well, I don't think that is going to be a consequence of it, honestly. But what I do think is that.
But if it were,
let me make my point. I don't like generalizing. When Hillary Clinton called Donald Trump supporters, the MAGA supporters, a basket of deplorables, it probably lost that election. When you generalize about millions and millions of people, it's always a very precarious and stupid folly to do that. What I can say
wouldn't it be generalizing for Piers to say that it's racist if somebody says they don't want to eat at a place that is black flair? Wouldn't that be generalizing? Like, I don't think that makes you a racist, that anyone who thinks that is a racist. Wouldn't that be a generalization? Just curious.
Agreed.
Well, what I can say with some certainty is that pretty well 100% of his groypers who've directly messaged me or members of my family have been highly abusive, overtly racist, very misogynist, and many of them anti-Semitic. I can say that with certainty. Now, what I don't know is how many of those are human beings and how many are from a bot farm. Because according to reports in the last 2 days, a lot of his stuff comes from bot farms. I don't know if that's true, but that's been reported in various mainstream papers.
I don't doubt it.
And I don't know how representative these ones on X or Instagram are of the total body of his support. I just don't know. So, I don't want to generalize and say.
Who's Mr. Suds? Just curious.
And neither do I, Piers.
I don't want to say all Nick Fuentes supporters are disgusting, because there may be a lot of people. It's a bit like Tommy Robinson.
And to be clear, I'm not saying that.
Let me finish my point. It's a bit like Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson in the UK, right, is a bit like Fuentes over here. And there's no doubt, as the people marching with him have grown bigger and bigger and bigger, the idea that they're all fascist, racist, whatever, is nonsense. A lot of people are marching for well-intentioned reasons connected with the immigration crisis in the UK. Right? He has bad people as well, and I think he's a malevolent character. But again, I wouldn't generalize anymore about all these people that march.
Can I ask you a question, Piers?
Yes, yeah, sure.
I would like to
but again,
dive
I didn't generalize.
Well, hang on, let Andrew come in. Let Andrew come in.
Okay.
There was a part of the interview where you were very combative and you said you haven't even been laid and you're a virgin. This guy's a Roman Catholic.
Right.
Is it?
Yeah, this is the part I wanted to get to. Even Andrew, who's a frequent commentator on here, he brings him on twice a week, and they have a pretty good friendship, even though I know Andrew knows Piers is part of the problem. But he's still going on there because it gets he gets some views. So it's a working relationship. But even Andrew lays into him a little bit here, and they, like I said, they're coworkers.
Isn't he supposed to be a virgin until he's married? Isn't that part of your guys'
yes,
faith?
To be fair to him, that is. I was brought up a Catholic. I'm not a particularly devout Catholic. I disagree with a lot of the church's
But you do
teachings.
agree that Catholics are supposed to remain chaste until marriage, right?
The strict interpretation from the Catholic Church about that is you should be.
So how come he didn't get? Shouldn't he get credit for that?
Well, he credited
the
it-
idea that he's kind of staying, he's staying within the confines of his religious beliefs.
I have no problem, but he
Nope. Piers just says, I think you need to get laid.
also,
or he can't get any action.
but he also
And Mark Lamont Hill also, or he can't get any action. Yes, the millionaire, the handsome millionaire kid that everybody's talking about can't figure out how to get his dick wet. I bet that's it.
identifies as an incel,
No,
which is more problematic.
Here's what Mark just said. You see what I mean? Like, he can't get any action. The guy is rich as shit, and he's a good-looking guy. He could get action if he wanted it, Mark. And by the way,
Andrew,
hang on, Mark.
I agree with you, Andrew. I'm just teasing.
Just let me finish your point.
I'm just teasing.
What I'm saying to you, though, is that yeah, of course he could. The thing is, though, is that if you guys are saying like he's a huckster, he's a fraud, isn't he in fact following rigorously his faith by doing that?
Well, so my response to that, I think it's a
not
really.
what he said.
Hang on, Harry. I think it's
Yes,
a really.
it is what he
hang
said
on,
in the
hang on.
interview.
I want to respond to Andrew.
No, it's
not. I think it's a perfectly valid question, particularly as I have always said I'm a Catholic. I was raised a Catholic. I had spiritual guidance from Catholic nuns when I was 12 years old.
He's obviously not paying attention to him, right?
I go to church occasionally. I'm not devout. I'm not there all the time. I don't agree with some of the Catholic Church's views and policies, and I wish they would evolve faster. However, as speaking Catholic to Catholic with him, yes, it's a perfectly valid thing that he could say, I am saving myself for marriage. But if that's all he said, fine. But I would argue that, if you look at him as a Christian, for example, how many of his other views are compatible with being a Christian? Right?
His view of the priesthood.
All of them are compatible. Which one would not be compatible? Are Christians supposed to think Jews should run our country? Are Christians supposed to think women should be in charge of men? Which one would be at odds with it? I'm dying to find one. Just name one.
Racism
was correct.
His Jew baiting, his overt racism, the despicable way he talks about women generally, and so on. None of those things are what you would categorize as being a good Christian. So
I think you can have dogmatic distinctions with him, and that's fine within the confines of the faith. But with the points he brought up, when he said women aren't allowed to be clergy, that's true. They're not allowed to be clergy by the Catholic faith. And when he said he's saving himself for marriage,
But he also said
he's
he could-
supposed
when he
to-
said
he's
women,
supposed to do that.
Andrew, when he, but hang on, Andrew, when he said that women shouldn't be
Hippocratic oath. We're going to get into that a little bit. I found another video. I might wait and save that for another day. That's more talking about his family, and I don't know if I want to get involved with that. But yeah, like there's I was recommending everyone go watch a couple of videos earlier about about all that. Yeah, Piers is a cuck. Piers lets his wife go fuck other men while they're married still. Like, and it's out in the open. It's not like it's some secret or nothing. She goes on fucking TV and tells everybody. Like, she literally makes him carry her purse. That's why he's having such an issue with this. If you notice, anytime that they have like Nick or even Andrew is getting interviewed by someone, if it turns out to be that person has a wife who's like what he's describing, they lose it. That's what happened to Piers. That happened to Woman Propaganda not too long ago. Went on a podcast, and one of the people's wives was one of these independent women. And so he took offense, and they got into a big scuffle about it. That's what happens whenever these guys who are cucks that let their wives dominate them, they get all bitchy about it and want to argue with you. That's what Piers did. That's basically the same thing that happened to Woman Propaganda a couple weeks ago.
allowed the vote and should stay at home, i.e. shouldn't also have jobs. Would you agree with that?
The Catholic Church does not have dogmatic teaching on democracy. They're not like, oh, democracy is the standard.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you whether you think when he says women shouldn't be allowed to vote and should stay at home and not work.
Well, I
not
think
have a
most
job.
people shouldn't be allowed to vote. I think I would limit suffrage for most people, like our founders did. I think
But
it's
would
a
you make
terrible
it
idea
specific
have
to women?
universal suffrage.
Would you make it
But not
specific
based
to
on
women?
their gender.
Not
Andrew.
specific.
You
Not
wouldn't base it on their
specific.
Hang on.
I make it specific to anyone who's not registered for the draft. If you ain't fucking going fight the wars, you don't get to vote on ones we get into. That simple. If you want to fucking say who we're going to go destroy, good. You're going to get drafted and you're going to go fucking help us do the destroying. We're not the women's fucking military arm, the men army or whatever. No. Women want to fucking vote on these things. They need to fucking be a part of the process then. Because you don't get to just say who we're going to go fight. I'm not some woman's fucking simp army. I'm not doing that. I would not go fight in a war if women aren't getting drafted too, if they're the ones voting on getting into the war. They want to vote all these Democrats in. That's why I don't care about the transgender shit. I'm not going to have to fight a man pretending to be a woman. That's not my issue. I didn't vote for it. Those bitches voted for it. They can go fight men now. I don't give a shit. You don't want them in the bathroom with you? Hey, maybe stop voting for Democrats then, shithead. You're doing it to yourself. It's not my job to fix your fuck ups.
Oh, hang on, let me
But why would
finish
that
this with
matter? Why would that matter?
Well, because I do think if you say,
limit voting, yes.
I do think after they've waged a 100-year war, women for women's equal rights, to then remove one of the wrenching building blocks of that, which is what the suffragettes fought for, the right to vote. I think if you remove that,
Oh, come on. That whole movement was totally astroturf. That's one. And
well,
two,
it won them the right
let's
to
just
vote.
point this out. There's a
Good point. I didn't think about Laura Loomer. Maybe I will.
argument from a Christian perspective to make that the husband, the head of the household, should be the one voting. Within his dogma, that would make sense. So there is a Christian case that you could make for that the head of household, the wife. Right now, what goes on in Christian households is that the wife is just doubling the vote of the man, right? So this is not against the purview of Fuentes, and it doesn't even sound particularly misogynistic to me.
Okay,
The 19th
Harry?
Amendment,
Harry, what's your response to that? Unsensitive.
We're not
family
going to
sponsored
hear
by
Harry's
Tuesday
response
Earth, which,
because I
like
could
me,
not care
delivers
less.
next level quality and
as they're gross and things like that. So Andrew is making an argument for Nick that Nick did not make in the interview. Nick Fuentes is just an open misogynist.
That's completely untrue. He said at least 3 times that he was Catholic. And because he didn't lay out the Catholic guidelines for what that means, that's not his problem. You should know what a Catholic means. If he says I'm Catholic, you shouldn't have to ask him why he's a virgin. He just told you he's Catholic. Like, if you don't know that that's a teaching of the Catholic Church, go get educated, Harry.
Who has spent far too much time in his basement alone, festering online and getting it.
What are you doing online, Harry? Lying to women? Uh-oh. Bad feminist.
Involved in his own conspiracy theories that he's creating. There's nothing, or at least via his own words in the interview, he did not present it as a case of him being religious and him staying.
Absolutely did. Repeatedly said he's Catholic.
Perfectly
Yes, he
to the
did.
religious text. Now,
But
no,
yes, he
didn't.
did. I have the quote. I have
go
the quote.
watch. Go, Andrew, go watch the viral clip. Wait.
Go watch the viral clips that don't say the thing I'm trying to say he didn't say. Andrew's got the quote. You can find the timestamp because it's on Andrew's channel. Like, he went and found the timestamp and played him telling you I'm Catholic. That's why. But because they didn't clip that part, now you're just gonna have to pretend like that's not what he said, because we didn't clip the part that says what you're trying to say he said. No, shithead. If he said it, he's got a quote. You can go find the quote. It's going to say exactly what he said, and you can go in the video and find the point where that said. He'll give you the timestamp. But no, it's easier just to say it didn't happen. Let's look at this clip that doesn't have it and see if, then I'll pretend like I'm right.
Hey, Andrew,
You
go
said I'm
watch the
supposed
back
to
and
wait until
forth with
America-
Well, I
Piers.
think
Go
both are
watch.
true.
Go
I
watch the
did
back
watch
and
it.
forth
I
with
have the
Piers when
quote
he
in front of me.
Andrew, please be quiet. Go watch the back and forth with Piers in that specific instance where
Harry,
Piers asked
no.
him, "Why are you a virgin? Have you
No.
slept with anybody?" And yes, go watch the clip. Fine, let the record speak for itself. You can go watch the clip if you'd like. That's what he said.
No, you
Yes, Harry. It's not in the clip. It's not in the 20-second clip. That was a long interview we were talking about. We don't give a fuck if it was in that 20-second clip. In the interview, he did say, I'm Catholic, repeatedly.
You
And
said
he's
he didn't
proceeded to
give a
focus throughout
reason.
the entire
He did.
interview. Andrew, can you please be quiet? Can you just zip it
Well,
for a
tell you what,
second?
why don't we watch the exchange
No.
again and clarify?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I would love to be on an interview and have a little twink like that tell me to be quiet. You know, I would just yell the rest of the interview. Come make me, little bitch. What are you fucking pussies? That's the problem with America. Keyboard warriors like this little fucking fruit here who's never been punched in the face telling grown men, stop talking, shut up. What? If this was an in-person interview, do you think Harry would be so brave? Like even with Andrew, I don't think Andrew's going to punch him, but I don't think he would do that around any real men. Like, you know, guys who don't take that kind of shit, but they've sit in these insulated rooms and talk like this. And they think that that's how you talk to people.
Are you actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not
Unfortunately, so am I.
gay.
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So
Hallelujah.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So basically, you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know.
Yes, you hate women if you tell them they should stay home. Let us go out, do all the working for you, and provide for you. You hate all women if you think you should take care of them and let them not have to struggle with life and jobs and bills and all the shit that men try to protect women from. You're a misogynist. You hate all women if you try and do that. That's in Pierce's mind, right? Do you need more proof that he's part of the machine? There you go.
No, I'm the
Yeah.
boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women.
I am.
All women are annoying. All women grow
fossil.
old. They all get fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid. Wow.
That's the thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think
always
you're an
get
expert in
laid,
women?
free love.
Given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right.
Pierce literally lets his wife go fuck other men so that he can be laid. Because it's that important for Pierce to get laid that he'll fuck a vagina that's still smoking. And he thinks that's better than Nick, who's just abstaining and said, I'll wait until the chick I'm marrying, if I can find one that's not aggravating.
This, you know, you're talking about empathy and your kids are empathetic and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem.
So he doesn't actually.
And Nick was very con there because I know Nick did his research and saw the same shit I've been seeing. And I know he knows all the shit. He knows about the sabbatical. He knows about all the shit his wife is saying. She's got a media presence. Go check it out. Go check it out. Have fun.
There, Andrew, mention the reason that you've given.
Not in that clip, but he did mention that he.
So why, if it's so important to him, why didn't he say it?
If it's so important, why isn't it in that 20-second clip? Like every 20 seconds, he's got to keep saying, I'm Catholic, I'm Catholic, over and over and over again. This is the kind of craziness that pretending like makes sense. That if you don't just constantly keep saying you're Catholic, then you never said it at all. Why didn't he say it in that 20-second clip? That's his argument, really, because he didn't say it again in the 20-second clip. Sorry.
Supposed to be chased.
If it's so important to him, why didn't he say it right there? Why didn't he say it right there? Because his reasoning right there was women are gross and they get fat and things like that.
Yeah.
Wait, no, but if this is so important, that's his reason.
That's a cherry pick.
No, Andrew. If that's his reason doesn't change in 5 minutes. He doesn't go from, oh, I'm a Catholic, I'm staying true to my religion, to, oh, well, women are gross and that's why I don't do it. Wait. You just said that his religion is the main reason as to why he's celibate. So
That's
now
what
it
he
was
said,
the main
yes.
reason 5 minutes.
So if he doesn't repeat that in every 20-second clip that's on the internet, then doesn't mean it. Doesn't mean it. All the shit he said before that clip doesn't count because it's not in that clip. If he really means it, it would be in that clip too. That's how autistic and stupid this little shithead's being.
Before, and then it fast forward to 5 minutes
It is
later,
the
and he's
main
like, oh, well,
reason.
women are gross.
That doesn't mean he can't have multiple reasons.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. That's what I was talking about. That's the video I was talking about. Andrew and Jake, Rattlesnake Jake, the other guy I do a lot of clipping for. He made some videos on his channel and pulled up the exact timestamp, shows you the timestamp, gives you the clip itself where Nick is saying, I'm Catholic. That's why I don't fuck with women like that. And they just pretend like he didn't say it at all because it's not in that 20-second clip.
primary
it's just
reason.
such an important reason that he didn't bring it up again. That makes total sense. He just brought up an entirely different reason.
Okay, so that was his first
plays into
reason.
And that's why Harry Sisson is terrible at this job. If you just have to repeat the same shit over and over again every 20 seconds, maybe people aren't really listening to you.
misogynistic
That was his first
views.
reason because it was the most important reason.
But in
Harry.
that interaction, he didn't say anything about religion. And if it's his central view, if it's so central to who he is that he bases his misogynistic views off of,
Well, the other thing, if I could jump in, the other thing, we bring.
Come on, Ed, don't crash out like you did on that podcast, man.
Hang on, let me bring Glenn back in. The other argument, which I thought was interesting, and I thought I missed a bit of a trick here with him, was when he was talking about the Holocaust, where people have assumed he's a Holocaust denier because of things he said in the past, of trivializing it and questioning the number of people who've died and so on. He seemed to try and take a more moderate position, which was, yes, I believe 6 million Jews were killed, maybe more. Whether he meant that or whether he was being some sort of satirical thing.
Yes, Pierce. I think Nick Fuentes thinks that more than 6 million were killed. I think that he was having an epiphany that you showed him the error of his ways, and now he thinks more died when before he was saying less. I don't think he was fucking with you or trolling you at all in any way.
Satirizing you. He was satirizing that.
That's what I now believe was probably happening. Yeah. So I suspect.
Took him 4 days to figure that out.
He was, yeah. But regardless, his argument was it all happened so long ago. Why did Jews continue talking about the Holocaust? We've all moved on. They use it all the time as a political weapon and so on. And of course, I suppose the obvious question for him, I went and checked afterwards how many times he's talked about, for example, on his show, the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, which was over 2,000 years ago, right? He does it all the time. So, if I'd been smart in the moment as a fellow Christian, I would say, well, hang on, but isn't that exactly what Christians do all the time about the crucifixion? What's the difference?
I'm not a Zoomer. I'm Gen X. I'm old as fuck. I'm older than dirt, dog. I'm no Zoomer. Thank God I'm not a Zoomer. I'll take being old over being a Zoomer, even though they have youth and they're going to live longer. Who wants to live in that world? I'm looking forward to it. Oh, sorry.
Sounds like his religion does matter to him.
Because it's absolutely central to their religion. And I think, I do think so much of what your interview with Nick Fuentes highlighted was extreme generational differences. It was sometimes like watching two people speak different languages. Piers, you and I are kind of the same age. You're obviously older. Everyone can see that, but just a little bit. And, for people who were born in
yeah, I know. The way you worded it made it seem like you thought I was a Zoomer. I'm no Zoomer. I'm fucking old as shit. Just wanted that out there. I don't want to be anything to do with Zoomers. So I was just clearing that up. I didn't want it to sound like I'm a Zoomer or anything like that.
like the 60s, the Holocaust was just 20 years before. World War II had just ended 20 years before. There was a mythology about the United States, about our role in the world, about how great of a country we were, about all the great things we did, about the Holocaust, the unique evil. Now it's 75 years ago. And people who are Nick's generation, where Harry's were born in, 2000 and 2002. And this idea that the Holocaust has been weaponized. We've been beaten over the head with it for 8 decades. We've been forced to spend and pay huge amounts of money in reparations, or that slavery is sometimes weaponized that way. This is a very common view. So I think when he's doing...
I really like Glenn Greenwald after this. I hadn't watched a lot of his stuff. I knew he was conservative and I watched occasionally, but he's kind of dry. But I really do like him. And if you can get past his delivery, I think he's a really good commentator too. You just got to... I don't know. He's not my style, but I do agree with a lot of what he's saying. He makes sense, and he is Jewish. So Pierce, if he had any brains, would think this is a non-Zionist Jew who is telling me that Nick Fuentes wasn't out of bounds like I think he is for some reason. Maybe you're just in bed with the Zionist. It's obvious.
Things like making jokes about the Holocaust. It's not because he thinks it's funny that huge numbers of people were exterminated. I think it's a way of purposely being transgressive about orthodoxies and pieties that a lot of people in his generation don't accept. They don't want to keep talking about the Holocaust.
Glenn, hang on. Hang on, Harry. Hang on. There was a callousness to it. And I'll tell you why. I brought on a guy called Danny Finkelstein.
And this is how you show Pierce's programming. Because the callousness is what gets him. Just the callousness. Because all that matters to these people is that you pretend like you're a good person. You could be an asshole shithead behind the scenes, but you got to pretend like you're a good person. And that's all that really matters, because we want our video to go out to the world and have everybody think everything's good. Everybody's happy here. No, bitch. He doesn't feel that way. He could be as callous as he wants. If that's how he feels, that's how he feels. That's why we had to have Biden, other than the cheating, because he pretended like he was a good guy and then got in there and pardoned his son and did all kind of heinous shit. But hey, he pretended to be the good guy. He didn't say mean things like Trump. Ooh, that's the one thing I like about Trump, is that he says mean things.
Journalist for the Times newspaper over here, who wrote a very powerful book about his family and their horrendous experience at the hands of Hitler and Stalin. And it's incredibly powerful. It's very moving. It's informed his life. And I'm going to talk to Danny actually after we finish this, because he's been on the receiving end of the most appalling abuse in the last 48 hours.
Condolences to Glenn then.
All directed by Nick Fuentes, who was so dismissive of him talking about his mother and father, so just callous in the way he responded. It's that kind of utter devoidness of any empathy whatsoever. You can have a view that we should try and move on generationally from these seismic moments, okay, but you don't have to be so callous towards somebody.
Yes, you have to have suicidal empathy, just like Piers does. If you don't have suicidal empathy to let a bunch of Muslims take over your country, well, then you're not a good person. And I have to try and get your dad murdered on my podcast.
But his family literally got murdered by people like Hitler and Stalin. Do we? I mean,
like, you're trying to get Nick's dad? Like, they had people show up at Nick's house with firearms. They were coming to do it. And you're telling everybody his dad's the reason he's that way. By name.
But the idea, Pierre, I think the thing is like, this generation of people grew up in the wake of the Iraq War, in the wake of endless war, in the wake of the destruction of their financial security with the 2008 financial crisis, with all the lies of COVID and Russiagate and all the rest of it. And faith and trust in these institutions have collapsed. So when they look at people who represent institutional thinking and they're told you're not allowed to make fun of this and you're not allowed to talk about this and accept in the ways that we prescribe, and we're going to call you all these names unless you affirm all these pieties over and over and over again, one of the ways of rebelling against that is to say, you know, it's a very common generational reaction, is to say, F you, we're going to transgress every line that you told us we can't, because we hate you. We think that the things that you're doing have been destructive to our lives. And I think, like, ignoring that part of youthful transgression, which I think is very common.
You know what, Glenn? I think it's a very valid point, and there may well be a generational thing to this. Let me bring in Warren, just for the record, by the way, Andrew. We've just been through the whole transcript, and he never uses the excuse that you may have heard him do it elsewhere.
I think I'm going to have to go find the Jake video now. I'm going to go a little long today, I guess, because Pierce is full of shit. Let's go find that Jake video. You're going to have to bear with me. It's going to take me a second because I got to go to Rattlesnake Jake or Andrew's channel. But that challenge accepted, Pierce. I'm going to go find it. He did say he was Catholic several times. I remember hearing it. Let's go find it on Rattlesnake Jake. Jesus. It's a shame. You've got to hold these idiots to the fire, because if you don't hold their feet to the fire, they will lie and say, he never said that. He's not Catholic. That's what they're trying to do here. Let's see, there's Warren Smith right there. Let's see. Jake Rattlesnake. He does a lot of content, so it's going to take a second here. And there was some catches. There is a limelight right here.
Load of the man, right? So
wait.
In the interview, he did not present it as a case of him being religious and him staying perfectly to the religious text. Now, no,
yes,
he did.
I have to quote.
Go watch Andrew, please be quiet. Go watch the back and forth with Piers and that specific instance where Piers asked him, why are you a virgin? Have you slept with anybody? And yes, go watch the clip. Fine, let the record speak for itself. You can go watch the clip if you like. That's what he said.
No, you said he didn't give a reason.
You guys want to see the lie in real time? Of course, we've got the evidence here. Now, it's very interesting because when I initially...
That's what I wanted right there. Damn it.
My take was that I didn't sense that Piers looks like he really understands that he lost that pretty badly. And he looks like he's doing a lot of damage control. And he looks like he's kind of
Continuously claim that Hitler is cool.
I'm not gonna make y'all
Like,
watch the whole thing again. I just want to get to that little
You
part.
can find it anywhere. Although I would generalize.
and his family are reading Instagram.
There's no doubt as the people
Marriage,
yeah,
right? Hang on, Mark.
I agree with you, Andrew.
Spiritual guidance about what
Dogmatic tea.
you say.
Women voting.
Andrew was talking about, or at least in his via.
I'll go on Twitter and find
Get
it. Here we
married
go.
all the time.
Right here.
I tell them that it's best for everybody to get married.
Andrew,
He has to
please
pull
be
it up on his
quiet. Go
phone.
watch the back and forth with Piers in that specific instance. where Piers asked him,
no.
Why are you a virgin? Have you
No.
slept with anybody? And yes, go watch the clip. Fine, let the record speak for itself. You can go watch the clip if you'd like. That's what he said.
No, you
And
said he
specifically
didn't give a
focused throughout
reason.
the entire
He
interview.
did.
You guys want to see the lie in real time? Of course, we've got the evidence here.
Children, therefore you are contributing, Nick Fuentes, to diminishing white population.
I tell my followers to get married all the time. I tell them that it's best for everybody to get married. And I think that's the only way that you can have sex. I think that's the only licit way as a Catholic is,
Why don't you
to
get
have
married
sex is with.
What?
That's the only way that you can have sex as a Catholic is to get married.
Huh.
Than marriage.
Why don't you get married?
I'll get married later. It's been difficult for.
So there's the lie in, well, not in 4K. This is more of a sort of.
Now, just wanted to prove Pierce is full of shit. And even when he does a fact check, there's still no facts there. You just saw it. He told him that's the only way a Catholic can have sex is to get married. Now, how much more clear should he be? Did he need to be more clear? Did he have to repeat that 15 times every time somebody asks him anything? He's got to bring up, yes, I'm also a Catholic and I also don't like the Jews. Like, he's got to do that. Like, every single thing he's got to bring it up. No, he's already given his reason. You can watch the full video and see it, or you can just watch the clip and wonder why it ain't in that 20-second clip. But the answer's right there. All you got to do is rewind. Finally. Oh, let me get out of here. Ooh, God, this one had me fired up. I was literally pissed whenever I was watching this weekend. I was like, this got to be Mondays. This got to be Monday's show. Like it was driving me nuts. Yeah. Over and over and over again. You're a racist. You're a racist. And dude's already said, yeah, okay, by your definition, I'm a racist. If that's what y'all think I did, sure. And that's my point. When they start saying milk is racist, math is racist, white bread is racist. Okay, then I'll just be fucking racist because I like those things. So that's what y'all do when you degrade the word and you make the word not mean shit. Let me put this on full screen. When you minimize the word and make it not mean shit, it doesn't mean shit anymore, right? If milk is fucking racist, then so am I. I love milk. I drink it every day. Milk, it does a body good. So people just don't understand. They're doing the same thing with Nazi. They're doing the same thing with fascist. They're doing the same thing with a lot of these words. And then they just wonder, why aren't you mad when I call you this now? Because you watered it down. You make it mean nothing. If it means nothing, call me that. I don't give a fuck. So anyway, that was my whole issue with this. And I just needed to put a video out because I felt like it needed to be said. But anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. And let me go music back. Get quiet in here when I turn the videos off. So that was what I wanted to get out today. Tomorrow we'll be back to the feminism shit. Just had to do a little more Nick Fuentes cleanup, I guess. So I will see y'all tomorrow. I'm going to use the new one. Let's try this. See how y'all like this closing. So let's see. I'm going to do this. Yeah, do it this way. I will see y'all tomorrow. Peace.